Thank you so much, Nam. Okay, so we're going to have Nikki and Tisha talking to us today. They're both from the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. So Nikki Dill is a Colorado native who obtained her bachelor's degree from Colorado State University. After earning her Master's of Arts in Curriculum and Instruction from the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, she spent 9 years teaching secondary science at the Rampart High School in Academic District 20. Nikki, she is a senior instructor in the Chemistry and Biochemistry Department at UCCS, and she serves as the Sustainability Chair on the Compass Curriculum Leadership for the UCCS General Education Program, and she also serves as the Intro to Chemistry Lab Curriculum Coordinator. Okay, she also works closely with the lab curriculum coordinators to faculty to integrate green chemistry and sustainable chemistry, social justice in science, and she also provides opportunities for students to apply these topics in chemistry in our environment, economy, and also the society. So I'm going to go for Tisha now. So Tisha Mendiola Jessup, she's also a graduate for UCCS, where she earned Bachelor of Arts degrees in biology and chemistry. After earning her Master's of Arts in Teaching graduate's degree from Colorado College, she's also spent 9 years teaching secondary science at Springs Community Night School in Colorado Springs District 11. She is currently a senior instructor at UCCS, and she serves as the lab curriculum coordinator for general chemistry lab courses. She has worked closely with other lab curriculum coordinators and faculty in the chemistry and biochemistry department to integrate green and sustainable chemistry, social justice in science, and also to advance opportunities for students to critically think about the applications of concepts and role chemistry study plays in real world situations. All of that to say they're doing amazing work, and we're going to know everything about what they're doing in UCCS right now. Tisha and Nikki, the floor is yours.
All right. Hi, everyone. Hello. Okay. All right. It looks like we have two screens going, so we can see that everyone can see our screen. So our presentation is looking at transforming first-year chemistry labs through green and sustainable chemistry. So I'm Nikki Jewell. Juliana gave a nice introduction, but kind of give a little bit of background. Tisha and I, being both curriculum coordinators, saw a need to update the way our labs are run, and then we started on this journey.
Yeah, and I'm Tisha. My pronouns are she and her, and I also heard it from the last presenter about the including land acknowledgement statements and acknowledgements of other things. I am a Chamorro native from Guahan, and I serve as the curriculum coordinator for our general chemistry curriculum. And Nikki and I have been working together for about we lost count. And COVID doesn't count, right? But it's like 9 years we've known each other or have been working together. So it's been a while, and we're going to share a little bit about our journey with you at UCCS. So our institution, just a little background, we are in the center of Colorado. We are the first GCC signer in the entire state of Colorado. And in the the University of Colorado system, which is 4 campuses, we have approximately 13,000 students, and about 8,000 of them are undergraduates. And our demographics are pretty wide. Still over half of our students are commuter students. We have a significant population. I think we actually just reached over half of our students are women or women identified. Quite a number of our students are military affiliated, active duty, or retired vets. About 30% of our incoming undergrads are first gen. We just got a Hispanic serving institution designation. It was last school year or this school year. And we have an increasing population, an increasingly diverse population of students. And we serve both the Gen Chem curriculum which, you know, is our fundamental curriculum for other things like physics, engineering, computer science, biology, medicine, and our intro chem series, which serves a lot of our health science folks, our health promotions folks, and our nursing college.
All right, so how did we start on this journey? As Juliana had mentioned, I am the sustainability chair for Compass Curriculum, which is our general education program at UCCS. And Compass started in 2014, and we were up for renewal with the Higher Learning Commission, and therefore we needed to revisit our courses, which means all of our updates and whatnot needed to be shown. So we found this as an opportunity to have that sustainability designation. We already had it for our chemistry courses, but it was not actually taught within our chemistry courses to the degree in which sustainability is required from our Gen Ed program. So I walked up to Tisha and I said, hey, Tisha, I need help. We need to increase our sustainability in our chemistry course. Let's do this.
And I was like, this is great. I love the idea.
And she was actually taking a grad course in environmental chemistry at that time, and said she had was pointed towards this resource, and that is how we got onto the green chemistry, because she was given the Dr. Paul Onassis and Dr. John Warner's Green Chem Ed book. We have not looked back since we started this process several years ago.
So very specifically, our Compass curriculum is required across the Gen Ed requirements for students. So one of the courses that they have to take, whatever calendar year they enroll in, needs to have a sustainability flag. So our sustainability covers both this idea of the history and long-term consequences, so the past, present, and future of the human-nature interaction, and an inclusive education. So how do we include students to help them understand those implications?
So we started reaching out when we started researching our green chemistry, and we found Beyond Benign. We're able to take a course from Beyond Benign. Because we were focusing on intro to chemistry, which is sometimes people call it prep chem, or our GOB courses, allied health, chemistry course. There's not a lot of resources available at that level. So we actually took the high school green chem course and then just scaled it up to our students. But that is how we started our engagement with Beyond Benign, and it has just grown from there. And we finally were able to sign the green chemistry commitment this year to become that first signer, as Tisha had mentioned.
So this is our sort of process that we had starting in the upper left-hand corner. We found the right team, that's us. And then we did a deep dive into what our current objectives and goals and activities and post labs and in lab for that core curriculum content, and then asked ourselves, what are other people doing? And we took absolutely advantage of the COVID opportunities to make massive changes all at once. And it was pretty challenging, but one of the things that we did was we updated every single lab learning objective and goal with green and sustainable chemistry in mind. We went through each lab and activity, and this is part of our sort of the last 3 years has been updating the goals, updating the objectives, updating the labs. And what we learned very quickly is that in order to get those things, we really needed a redesign. So a little bit more specifically about each of those processes
is what we're going to focus on. All right. We've had to communicate with our department about what green chemistry is. And they're like, oh my gosh, is this new chemistry? How do we have to do a redesign? What are you asking us to do? And we changed that language from instead of new chemistry, it's just better chemistry.
So our goals for the Gen Chem lab courses, and very specifically lab, is how do we focus on the communities of scientists, inventors, and innovators, the communities being that in very inclusive language. How do we do chemistry in action while incorporating reading and writing and connections to current research in things like climate change, space exploration, and incorporating more of those the safety data sheets into our Gen Chem courses.
And for intro to chemistry, because they're not STEM majors, we call them STEM adjacent majors, because they do need to take a lot of science, math type classes, technical classes in the nursing program. And so they have to be involved with these courses, but they're not STEM. So they have their own challenges. And part of that was learning how to communicate. A lot of these students are going to be working with patients or people in the community, and that communication piece was where we really wanted to focus. How can you talk about this complex information to a patient, to a parent, to a guardian, whatever that happens to be? And how we wanted to do this was to break the silos of each individual content, concept, and even like the pillars of sustainability, and integrate it all. And that integration became that systems thinking model. And based off the content we teach for our nursing majors, that social aspect, so we bring a lot of the social equity and social justice with safety and exposure in the community into our lab courses.
Okay. So that's background. Let's get into some specifics. So we have 4 specific courses that we integrated this into. I'm missing one, it's fine. Our Gen Chem for majors and our Gen Chem 1 and 2 courses, and our intro chemistry and our intro to organic and biochemistry. So 5 courses, actually.
Yeah.
Some of these strategies and assignments are the same, but generally we'll kind of show you some specific things that we did in each of these courses.
We started with intro and then started to build it up into Gen Chem. We went through each section of our labs to identify that safety data sheet. Could we pick out better chemicals? Could we reduce how much we use? And have the students read the safety data sheets. And that has become part of their pre-lab preparation. That's not happened in our nursing chemistry before. And then applying our green chemistry principles, and we've integrated our sustainability design or sustainable development goals from the UN. Before we went and decided to do a complete OER rewrite, we were attempting to use the previous, or what we used previously for our lab manuals, and apply the chemistry concepts through applications and extension activities after they completed the wet lab with us. And through these, we wanted the students to apply concepts, really start to pay attention to their identity in the community or the topic at hand, and to connect those learning resources outside of academia, because that is how they're going to apply it within their potential job in the future.
So one of the activities with safety data sheets very specifically is we actually have them read the safety data sheets at the very beginning of the course. And these are 2 specific questions from this activity. 1, consider the communities to which you belong and identify those communities. So we're asking them to think beyond their first year high school or their last year of high school experience or them as a student, and think broader about the communities they do belong to and maybe those that they wish to belong to. And then think about how those communication styles differ between people in and not in these scientific communities. So how do we talk about safety with those folks who are our classmates and with those folks who are not? So these are just 2 examples of after they review a safety data sheet for a specific chemical, when we do properties, we ask them to connect the safety beyond the academic application of it.
One of the hurdles we had to overcome was how do we integrate these green chemistry principles into the curriculum that was already pre-made based off the lab manuals we were using. So we took a look at each of our labs and determined which of the principles applied best and whether we failed that principle or we can address that principle whatever it happened to be. And so we wanted to make sure, because we have about 30 sections each semester between Gen Chem and Intro, and we want to make sure it was seamless. So using Canvas, we would be able to have the post-lab questions, pre-lab questions, applications, seamless information for both instructors and students across our platform.
So in one of the ways that looks, and this was a new project that we instituted this semester, is to incorporate scientific presentations using scientific language and the application of these principles. We'll do 4 projects in our Gen Chem lab. This is in addition to the wet labs. And it's this very small project, a 6-slide presentation. Slide 1 is the title, slide 6 is the citations, and the good stuff is in the middle. These are actually real slides from a student project where it addresses, it is number 3, contemporary examples of chemical exposure. One of the things that we found in talking about it is a lot of the students were very rooted in past. They were like, oh, this happened in the 30s, this happened in the 40s. This happened literally last century. So we wanted them to come up to right now. What is happening in your world right now? And this is someone who is from Hawaii, and they focused on those jet fuel leaks in Hawaii. And then we had them look at slide 4 is the Green Chemistry Challenge Awards. Pick one from the last 2 years and talk about it. What are they doing? And this student also included the Green Chemistry Principles Applied, and it's the Sugar Boost surface cleaner. So they get to see what's happening right now. In addition, we include this periodic tables endangered elements from the ACS and the Green Chemistry Institute. So what is happening in their world right now? And it is about a 2-minute or 5-minute presentation. They just tell us what they discovered, and we kind of grade this based on a rubric.
And the instructors were all very excited when the students had presented these. They're like, do you know what they found? And there was so much excitement. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to the University of Toronto, because we have used their videos to help address the green chemistry principles for our students within their pre-lab quizzes. They'll answer questions, and the students go back and reference these as we start to integrate this content into post-lab material as well. One of the big goals, people, and being the sustainability chair, I hear, well, I can't integrate sustainability. It's not part of my content. I teach chemistry. If I can put sustainability into chemistry and lab, not even just lecture, it's in lab, anybody can do it. And our goal is, over the course of the semester or year, depending on how long we have our students, they're going to be exposed and be researching within the 3 different pillars of sustainability. And then we take those concepts and integrate the UN Sustainable Development Goals as well. So each lab will have different goals that we address, and the students have to answer questions. So an example, some of our post-lab questions that we have here for a couple different labs, we have a page called Connecting Green and Sustainable Chemistry that is linked in this quiz, so they can go back and read the content that is there. And then they have to answer a question. There we go. So infer how to address the UN Sustainability Goals 9 to support 6 while applying solubility to water contamination. So we take that main theme of the lab and then bring it back to the bigger picture of how can we address this, or how does it need to be addressed within each of our individual lab.
So doing all of this, and we mentioned this a couple of times, one of the biggest hurdles we actually had to overcome was integrating into a current model. And what we discovered is it didn't work. So the best thing we came up with was we actually switched almost, I would say, a very, very large portion of our materials for both courses. The intro series and the Gen Chem series are now open educational resources. There are huge benefits to this, including those real-time changes. These materials are available for free to students, and they can interact with it digitally on our LMS, which is Canvas, or we provide them PDFs, and they can pay additional, or if they have a printer, to download these pages. A lot of our students, I would say a good half of our students, actually interact with this digitally on a tablet, like an iPad or a Surface. We can also make these changes as things update in the green and sustainable chemistry and just sustainability in general. We can make those updates in real time. It did require us to reach out for some OER training, and we're actually still in an OER training, getting ready to pursue another OER training, but really making these accessible. You may have noticed a lot of these images on our slides. Nikki actually made most of these images that you are seeing on these slides. I have a hand in a couple of them, but we developed these images as a part of our OER training to deliver and present to our students directly as well. Then we ask our students to kind of do this for us too. So here's an example of what our OER lab manual looks like, specifically in our our intro chem under redox. So this is the Canvas page that they interact with. It's free, it's included. They can download a PDF, low graphics version of this. And all of the graphics that you see here were made by Nikki. We also have them use OER to come back to us. But one of the things that we wanted to talk about was this big final project in our intro chem series.
So over the course of the year, between 1201 and 1211, our students do a variety of projects to learn how to communicate with an audience. And we provide those audiences as we're training them to use these different resources. At the end of our organic biochem course, we have what we call the Human Impact Project. This has been designed over time as we've been modifying what we want the students to look at. It was actually an MIT challenge that Tisha had found, showing that students will get money or for a grant to address an issue. We're like, well, we can do this as well. So we give them this premise of a community health issue that they get to choose, and they will research. So they do this over the course of the last 8 weeks of the course. They will integrate the green and sustainable chemistry. So the first research is just the issue. What is the issue? What is the sustainability issue or topics? What community are you addressing? Just that elevator pitch. Then they're going to do a deep dive into the chemistry itself. For the intro students, it's not highly technical, but their goal is to use the language to explain this concept to their coworkers, to their patients, to their community members, whatever that happens to be. Every year, this is our favorite. Yes. What the students come up with of what they want to solve are real problems. We have what's called the UCCS Green Action Fund. They will fund sustainability projects here on campus, and we have had students want to go forward and apply for those grants. We actually have a group right now who is taking their project and ultimately wants to apply for funding to see it through to change some stuff on campus. But they take this concept everywhere. It gives me goosebumps. It's so cool.
Cool. And then, as I was mentioning earlier, we also ask them to engage in content creation as a part of, so even a part of their Human Impact Project, they actually all make Microsoft Sways, which is a website creation software. We also ask them in several, I showed you PowerPoint earlier, and we ask our intro students to create infographics. In that, how do you take this information you learned in class and present it to different types of audiences? And because a lot of them want to be in healthcare, those audiences are often people not in healthcare. So how do we communicate that with our grandmas, with our next door neighbors, with the kiddos in our homes? And these are also those sort of tangential skills that we're learning in these courses that are still communication, it's still writing, and it's also ridiculously pretty.
We've had students who continue to use these skill sets. So we do infographics, Microsoft Sway, newsletters, and presentations via different resources. And I've had one student learn from using infographics. She's like, well, I have a fishing business in the summer. Now I know how to give out promotional materials. I have another student this semester is just learning how to write a newsletter. She now writes the newsletter for her dog breeding program. So these skills go beyond the chemistry as well.
Some student input from previous semesters. This big one was really about the integration of OER. Also, for some context, this student took the class twice. So they saw the content the first time without the OER, and they saw the content again with the OER. And we got some pretty amazing feedback. The lab manual from the bookstore versus this version is awesome. We had some errors. There are always errors, but it's really they don't have to purchase it. There are multiple options for how to use a lab manual. We don't have to buy it. It came up over and over again. We don't have to buy it. We have multiple ways to interact with it.
Learn from our lessons. There's going to be trial and error implementation of materials. It's been since 2019 when we really started this process. So several semesters of updating, fixing, and understand that you're going to have cultural inertia, not only student cultural inertia, but instructor cultural inertia that you're going to have to mitigate. We learned this the hard way of having that open communication, letting people be involved at how much they want to be involved, whether it's writing the labs, reading for the labs, giving their input, but understanding that we are moving forward and we want you to be part of this process, but you are going to hit some walls.
Yeah, and that I will say again, OER is one of the things that we landed on that overcame so much of these concerns that were brought up by faculty and students. And having that OER with full integration, it couldn't just be a side project. It had to be the relevant theme that went through the whole thing. So these challenges, we did find having the right people on your team is really, really important, because the changes are incredibly exciting and super challenging. And finding folks in your department, including students, that have this passion that also challenge you and help you stay realistic is really, really important. Complementary skill sets were also something that we found was incredibly important to get this work done. We also want to shout out, it's really, really important that we give Beyond Benign, awesome, our OER folks, amazing, and we could not have done this without Compound Chem, Canva, Wondershare Filmora, and the Noun Project. There are also some other really great inclusive images and pictures that we got from our OER folks, so we have more inclusive images. Canva does a great job of having a variety of people.
Oh, and Canva, you can have a free educator's account.
Yes, free, and it integrates into Canvas now. So yes, thank you, Canva Canvas. My browser never gets confused when I type it in.
And then just acknowledgements to where we are at. So our department, Dr. David Anderson, who is our department chair, Dr. Janelle Owens, who is our assistant department chair, and then our lab coordinators are Brett Mayer and Sam Gee. They help us through this entire process. Dean Vidler, who is they are very excited about the work that we are doing. And then of course, Beyond Benign and the American Chemicals, or the ACS, as they are starting to integrate green chemistry as well.
And to all of our faculty and friends who have been on this journey with us. Oh, so thank you, everyone. Yeah, I'm gonna just pop into the chat. I think we had oh, thank you, Vaso, for being here. And thanks for some of the information in the chat. If there are any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Nikki and Tisha, for all of that. I wrote down some points. I love that you mentioned better chemistry, because people usually say like, oh, green chemistry, new chemistry. So it's just like a way of actually like getting over this pushback that people have to everything that's new. And I love that we're talking about communication science, because it was something that I wish I knew when I was doing my undergrad. And also I use Canva a lot. And now I started working for Beyond Benign because of Canva, because I learned about doing infographics and everything. So sorry to throw everything there, but do we have any questions? Please feel free to reach out, to just like unmute yourselves or put anything in the chat.
Felicia?
Hi, I just was wondering, are you guys involved with I might have missed it at the beginning. Are you involved with the ACS Green Chemistry Institute modules project? Because you've got it in spades and they need your work. So
I think I signed up for the information emails, and so this work has been really time intensive.
yeah.
And absolutely, I think we chatted about doing this and like taking it, and then we realized that we've been going nonstop since 2020. And I think
but see, all of this would have been that, directly applicable.
Well, we just actually finished writing our last lab last week. So like we have now finished that culmination.
Anyway, I encourage you to get in touch with them, because
thank you.
They need this material.
And more than happy to share.
And that's the other thing we realized too, coming to these green chemistry connections and listening to OER, the having available material is really important. I've heard over and over again, it's why we wanted to give you all some ideas to hopefully take away and do, is what are we doing in our intro chem courses or our first year courses? How do we make this something that we can use without doing a lot of sort of extra, like a curriculum rehaul, which is not the goal. It's, how do we incorporate this into what we're already doing? Because we're already doing a great job and we're getting those core concepts, which is what ACS GCI does say. You got to have the core concepts, and it's a thread throughout that just connects these core concepts together. And for the world that these students are living in, not the world that they're going to live in or the world that was, it's the world that's now.
Yeah. I have, I posted an article, this is for everybody, in the resources folder on the Google Drive, that's called Integrating Green Chemistry into Education. And it hasn't been published yet, but it will come out in Angavanti Kami. And this crowd doesn't need, I'm preaching to the choir here, but this is something you could share with people who need to be convinced. It's a call to action.
Yes,
I like that.
Awesome. Do we have any more questions? I cannot see the hands raised. So if you do have a question, please unmute yourself and just go for it. No, yes. Okay, I'm sure we can talk more in the breakout rooms. I'm gonna pass on to Nim now, because we will probably have a break. And Natalie just put the resources there in the chat if you guys want to check out what Felicia was talking about. So thank you very much, everybody. And it's over to you, Nim.
Thank you to our wonderful speakers so far. Yes, as Juliana mentioned, we are going to have a quick break. So why don't we come back at 1:20 p.m. or in 5 minutes, wherever you are in the world. For me, it's 1:20 p.m. So I will see you all in 5 minutes. Please do take a break, stretch your legs, and come back and join us for our breakout rooms.